We've got, I understand, Larry Pratt back. He is the head of, the executive director of, and Larry, I don't think you heard it in the last segment because the call dropped, but we've now given you a new name, brother, and it's the Doctor of No Compromise. Welcome to the show.
I'll take that. Thank you, sir.
Wear that badge proudly, man. It really is important, particularly now. A couple things I want to go in a couple directions with you, Larry. Number one, your response to what happened in Charleston and the absolute hideous, disgusting, despicable display of politicizing, again, for political gain by this president, this stain on America, on our history.
Well, as soon as I heard what had happened, I immediately, without knowing exactly, I thought, I'll bet you that is a gun-free zone. I just didn't know, so we looked it up, and sure enough, state law says that you can have a gun in the church if the leadership of the church has signed off on it. And since this particular church was pastored by a state senator who was Mr. Anti-Gun, then it became pretty obvious that that was a gun-free zone, a bunch of liberal Democrats in there, and the dirtbag that struck, I think, knew exactly what he was doing.
We've seen it over and over again, Larry.
There'd be plenty of black churches that he could have gone into, and he probably could have met effective resistance. But he went to one where it would be known to be populated by liberals, and then he had open season.
You better watch out. Somebody's going to attack you. The Daily Mail out of the UK is all over a former NRA board member right now for saying something very similar, that, my gosh, had he not voted against the right to keep and bear arms in his church, maybe some of those people would be alive. Now, I don't want to, I'm not blaming him. Obviously, I'm not blaming him. It's not his fault. However, the politics in general that surround this, how many times, Larry, do we have to say to people that there is no such thing as a gun-free zone because criminals don't obey the signs?
All but one of our mass murders in the last, I think, something like 3 decades that we've counted up, Dr. John Watt has counted up, have occurred in gun-free zones. So if you want to be safe, for goodness sakes, stay out of places.
Well, yeah, you're absolutely correct about that. I'm not afraid to talk about that. I'm not afraid to say that. Every single one of these mass shootings happens in a similar environment. And by environment, I don't mean church. I'm lumping all of them together. Is the sense that there is a sign that says no guns allowed. In this case, the state of South Carolina mandates, their laws mandate that churches are off limits unless the pastor, the head of the church anyway, has said yes and agreed. And we know he wouldn't. That's what the NRA board member, I forget his name, I'll find it in the next segment. But that's what he was saying, was that as a state senator, this pastor had voted against that and didn't believe in that. And there's nothing wrong with saying that because it's factually true.
Fault. It's just to say that made sure that the dirtbag knew that he was going to a place where he would have to expect minimum resistance for quite some time.
Larry, we also now know, of course, there have been some conflicting statements as to how evil is how I'll refer to him, got his hands on the firearm. Have you heard anything? Is there any update on that? We understand that he got it first. It was a gift from his father, and then somebody said he passed the background check.
His dad gave him the money, and he went and bought the gun, and he cleared the background check. He had been arrested on a drug charge. He was abusing a painkiller because he was trying to get off opiates in February, and that was, 4 months ago? So eventually his arrest record might get into the system, but obviously, once again, a background check was of zero utility in stopping one of these crimes.
So we can expect then that an expanded background check would have done nothing.
Absolutely nothing. That's just silly to even for somebody to suggest that to us. It's to rely on that kind of law is to believe in the tooth fairy.
It's pie in the sky. It's utopia. It's la-la land. Larry, I'll take us into this break with this, and then when we come back, we'll talk further, and I'll get your opinion. And that is, I remind listeners regularly on this program that evil exists. You live your life in denial of that. Literally live your life, if you deny that, in peril. Evil will find you if you deny its existence. You cannot. You do so at your own peril. To deny that there are bad. We cannot legislate evil. We cannot legislate morality. You've got to
and
understand
ideas
that.
have consequences, and we're seeing the consequences of that kind of idea.
We absolutely are. I'm talking with Larry Pratt, the great executive director of the Gun Owners of America, the doctor of no compromise. Back right after this.
Folks, you know that the United States Concealed Carry Association protects responsible gun owners from jail and bankruptcy if we're ever forced to use our weapons in self-defense. Well, I want to share an incident that happened to a USCCA member a few weeks ago. The member witnessed his neighbor being assaulted with a baseball bat in his front yard. He drew his weapon to stop the threat and save his neighbor's life, and was arrested and held on a massive bail bond even though he never fired a shot. Well, he used his one call to the USCCA. Not only did they post his bail, find him an attorney, and get him home to his family, they had him to work on Monday morning. Now, the USCCA has a free guide that I want to give you today to arm you with 18 things you need to know before leaving your house with a gun. Go to defendfamilynow.com right now to get your free copy of this life-saving guide. Again, that's defendfamilynow.com. Folks, you know that the United States Concealed Carry Association protects responsible gun owners from jail and bankruptcy if we're ever forced to use our weapons in self-defense. Well, I want to share an incident that happened to a USCCA member a few weeks ago. The member witnessed his neighbor being assaulted with a baseball bat in his front yard. He drew his weapon to stop the threat and save his neighbor's life, and was arrested and held on a massive bail bond even though he never fired a shot. Well, he used his one call to the USCCA. Not only did they post his bail, find him an attorney, and get him home to his family, they had him to work on Monday morning. Now, the USCCA has a free guide that I want to give you today to with you with the 18 things you need to know before leaving your house with a gun. Go to defendfamilynow.com right now to get your free copy of this life-saving guide. Again, that's defendfamilynow.com.
The Second Amendment Foundation has grown into what many believe to be the most important gun rights organization in America. With hundreds of thousands of active members, it is the Second Amendment Foundation defending your rights in courtrooms across the nation. Winning these battles in local jurisdictions all the way to the Supreme Court requires tireless effort and help from you. Please help the Second Amendment Foundation defend your freedoms by joining or donating today at saf.org. Join us at saf.org. Thank you.
Crossbreed Holsters is proud to offer, in addition to our already outstanding belt selection, introducing the Instructor's Belt. Offering the same quality as our original gun belts and dress belts, the Crossbreed Instructor's Belt offers a clean buckleless design intended for a sharp and professional appearance. Sturdy but not stiff, the Instructor Belt provides even weight distribution of your gun and gear and looks as great out on the town as it does on the range. Crossbreed Holsters, often imitated but never duplicated. Visit crossbreedholsters.com. crossbreedholsters.com. The Super Tuck by Crossbreed Holsters, the most comfortable and concealable holster available on the market today. Is it any wonder why it's the most copied design on the planet? Used by law enforcement and civilians around the world, the Super Tuck by Crossbreed is adjustable for ride depth and cant, often imitated but never duplicated. The Super Tuck holster is available for a wide variety of popular carry guns. For more information and to order your Super Tuck, visit crossbreedholsters.com. That's crossbreedholsters.com.
Hey, what's up? It's AAR Shanto here. Every day you hear the passion that we have for freedoms here in America. I also have other passions, and every week you can check out what that passion is. I've started a new web series. Yes, believe it or not, with all the other things that I have going on, I went and did it. I started a web series, and I think you're going to like it. If you want to see one of my hobbies, all you got to do is check out irfnews.com. That's irfnews.com.
This upcoming segment of AAR is sponsored by the USCCA Education and Training Department. For your own toolkit or to become a certified instructor, visit teachuscca.com. That's teachuscca.com.
Welcome back to the Armed American Radio Network, Crossbreed Holster Studios. I hope you picked up something for Dad at Crossbreed Holsters. They had a whole line of stuff going on over there on sale. And, oh, you want to know what I'm carrying again, by the way? Right now I'm carrying a Glock 17 in a Crossbreed outside the waistband holster. You should be, too. I'm talking with the great executive director of the Gun Owners of America. You've seen him on every TV show that will put him on because he usually takes the host to task, and that's Larry Pratt, the doctor of no compromise. Larry, how you doing, man?
Hey, just good. Great to be with you.
Hey, a couple things I want to get away from Charleston for a second. The Pope. Now, you know, it's hard to take on the Pope, right? That's a task, right? I mean, he's the Pope, right? I have a problem with the Pope. I have a problem with this Pope, and I'm gonna get a little philosophical here with you, Larry. I was born and raised and baptized Catholic, as both my children are, and I don't like the Pope wading into global warming, telling me that my charcoal grill and my automobile is destroying the planet. It's garbage and it's bunk, and it ain't a job for the Pope. It's political, and I don't like it. And just today, the Pope says weapons manufacturers can't call themselves Christian. You want to take that one on?
You know, that's a pretty strong statement to be making, and it's pretty far out. We've got something on our website at gunowners.org under the fact sheet section called What Does the Bible Say About Gun Control? And with all due respect, the Pope needs to go do some more homework. To make a statement like that shows that he has not done his homework on what the Bible says about using lethal force in self-defense. And whether you're in the Old Testament or the New, the message is the same. The protection of life, which is a gift of God, is not only permitted because for people to use lethal force, but my gathering is that it's required for people to use lethal force to protect life. It's a gift of God, and we're not supposed to be just saying, "Oh well, you know, have a nice day."
Matthew 10:34, he that hath no sword, let him sell his garment and buy one. Luke 22:36. Paul also describes the true Christian dressed in the armor of God and wielding the sword of truth. Ephesians 6:10-17. John described Jesus in military terms. Of his mouth went a sharp two-edged sword, and out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should he should smite the nations. Revelations 1:16. The Bible is filled with references, basically, of an eye for an eye, and weapons used to defend life. We could go on and on, but that's a conversation left for a much longer program. But here's my question for the Pope: isn't he protected by armed security?
The Swiss Guard is rather famous worldwide. They are a crack unit, and they certainly don't use tiddlywinks.
So they're carrying weapons made by weapons manufacturers, and okay, you see where we're going here. I think you get the idea. I don't you know.
Physician, heal thyself is the message that we might deliver. No, I think he spoke out of emotion and out of a prejudice that he seems to share with other liberals in the world, but that certainly didn't come out of the Scripture. And so it tells me that he's willing to make statements authoritatively that he hasn't really done his homework on, and that's a shame.
Yeah, that's kind of sad. And I know you're up on this one. Let's move over to Bill O'Reilly as we close out the hour with you here. Unfortunately, time just flies so fast. But Bill O'Reilly, I'm sure you're aware of this. On his national program on the O'Reilly Factor a couple days ago, called for a national gun registry, a federal gun registry for law-abiding gun owners, and he followed his second idea with or that first idea with a second one, and that was to federalize all gun crime. Now, Alan Gottlieb was here in the first hour to give us his take on why that's ludicrous to begin with, federalizing gun laws that the courts can't handle it, and on and on. He gave us that from an American jurisprudence background, number one. But a national gun registry. First, let me say this. I believe that Bill O'Reilly clearly supports the Second Amendment. I do believe that. I think he is misinformed with this statement, and I think he also spoke out of emotion. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think this is something that he's been wrestling with for a long time. When Fox was just getting started, and he was just in his early days on Fox, he was warning me on one of my appearances that, for my defense, that what he calls assault weapons, that's going to be a real political loser. Well, right. It turned out, Mr. O'Reilly, that those that followed your advice took it in the chops the next election. So it's something. There are two ways of thinking on this and most other subjects. One is to try to use linear logic, which I think typically conservatives and gun owners do, and the other is to think with feeling. And that's, I think, what Bill O'Reilly's doing. And it's embarrassing.
Yeah, it is kind of embarrassing. And I think you just nailed it, Larry, as you so often do. He has been wrestling with this. I know Bill O'Reilly believes in the Second Amendment. I don't know that he carries a firearm. I would be willing to bet he does, and I'm sure he has armed security virtually everywhere he goes. And I'm sure he probably more than likely has the permitted ability in one of those few in New York City to be able to protect himself. I believe that. And he made some other statements also about the Second Amendment is here, and it isn't going away. And those who feel otherwise, and he pointed to the anti-gun establishment without naming names. I name names, and you name names. We know who they are. That their heads are in the sand. They're on the wrong side of the Constitution and the wrong side of freedom. And then he threw in these two ideas.
Yeah, that's the main idea, that whatever the facts might be, and I think they are on our side, this is what he's talking about is not constitutional. And that, if the First Amendment's going to protect him, and I think it should, then he'd better treat with the same respect the Second Amendment. Because once we start being cavalier in one place, it tends to develop a way of thinking. It's not going to be limited just to that one particular area. And I think that's the danger he doesn't recognize.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was just more being misinformed, and I think speaking on emotion. I'll leave it at that. I will say this though, in response, if I were to have a conversation with him about it, I would simply say that it is unconstitutional according to the Second Amendment. That's the infringed part. That we begin registering with the federal government our own constitutionally constitutionally recognized private property and our right to bear arms. That in and of itself is an infringement. And of course, he was right when he said he knew that the NRA and others, meaning GOA and us and others, would have a problem with that, simply because we will not allow the federal government to know who we are and where we are, period.
That's right.
It's none of their business. And I think he gets it. Hey, Larry, Gun Owners of America. Website, where can people go find you? Real quick.
Gunowners.org. Make sure you get on our email alert list.
It's a great list. Get on it. Everything you want to know. It's no compromise. Nobody tells it like Larry and Eric Pratt of the Gun Owners of America. Larry, looking forward to talking with you soon. We appreciate everything that you do. Armed American Radio.